Good evening, Bershus. And with the permission of friends old and new, we continue on our journey, and we're getting close to the end of the third parak. Mishnah Chav Aleph in the third parak. We switch now over from Rabbi Akiva's maxims, who took up a lot of time, and now we come along to that famous individual, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the same individual, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Harayani Kiven Shivim Shana V'lo Zachisi, that we say in the Haggadah, the same one who was elevated to the head of Klal Yisrael over Rabbi Gamliel when he was just merely 17 years old, and his beard turned white overnight in order that he could leave the impression of great wisdom for those people. The same Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah who added 400 benches to the Beis Medrash on the same day that he was elevated to the head in the Av Bezdin of Klal Yisrael. And the same Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah who asked his wife whether he should take the position, and his wife said, "Oh no, don't take the position. Just like they got rid of Rabbi Gamliel, they get rid of you too." So he said, "I'd rather it would be for me to have had the possession and the use of a great and beautiful vessel, and it broke after one day, than never to have used it at all. Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." Comes along Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in our Mishnah over here, Mishnah Chav Aleph in the third parak, and he says the following: "Im ein Torah, if there is no Torah, ein derech eretz, there is no good and polite behavior between men. V'im ein derech eretz ein Torah, and if there's no goodly behavior between man and man, there's no Torah. Im ein chokhmah ein yira, if there is no wisdom, there is no awe. Im ein yira ein chokhmah, if there is no awe, there's no fear, there is no wisdom. V'im ein das ein bina, and if there is no knowledge, there is no understanding. V'im ein bina ein das, and if there is no understanding, there is no das." I'm not going to discuss each and every one of these particular aspects of what he's talking about derech eretz and Torah. We've discussed what derech eretz means, we've discussed what Torah means, we've discussed what chokhmah means, we've discussed what bina means, and we've discussed what das means already in the last three parakim. Be that as it may, all of those statements that we just mentioned, Torah, derech eretz, chokhmah, yirah, das, and bina, they all have a certain consilience and synergy and homeostasis to them. They all seem to flow and create a logical inference from one to the other. But the next statement, the last statement of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in this Mishnah, let's look at it. Im ein kemach, if there is no flour, ein Torah, there is no Torah. V'im ein Torah, ein kemach. And if there's no Torah, there's no flour. Das, bina, chokhmah, derech eretz, these are all things that are imbued within the individual, that are innate to every human being. But kemach and Torah, that doesn't seem to logically flow from the prior dictums. So what is the definition of im ein kemach ein Torah v'im ein Torah ein kemach? So someone once said, it was a Rishon, but I can't recall right now who. And this Rishon said, and this is really just one good vault. He said the following: when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Har Sinai to receive the luchos from Kadosh Baruch Hu, and he ascends to Shemayim, the Malachim want to do him harm. Who is man that comes from the putrid drop that we learned about at the beginning of this parak that should acquire the Torah? Who is this man? Moshe Rabbeinu. And immediately God, realizing the harm that the angels wanted to inflict on Moshe Rabbeinu with the chutzpah that mankind, human beings, and not the lofty, holy angels would be receiving the Torah, but rather man would be receiving the Torah from the lower earth and not the higher heavens. God realized this was a dangerous moment in time between man and heaven. And therefore God changed immediately, miraculously made Moshe Rabbeinu appear like Avraham Avinu. The Medrash tells us. as Moshe Rabbeinu comes to appear before the heavenly court, the Bezdin Shalmaila, in the garb, and as the doppelganger of Avram, HaKadosh Baruch Hu points to the Malachim, and he says, do you remember what Avram did for you? That he was your host, that he served you, that he performed the mitzvah of Achnasas Orchim for you? Is this how you repay him as a visitor now to your home in heaven? And immediately the Malachim, they relent. And Torah is given. But what's underlying this? So if we recall the day and the night that the Malachim came to Avram Avinu, it was the night of Pesach. And Avram Avinu baked matzahs for the Malachim so that they could eat and partake of the mitzvah of Yetzias Mitzrayim and Pesach. Comes along the Medrash and tells us that Avram Avinu knew Kol HaTorah Kula, that he knew all of Torah. Im ein Torah, ein Kemach. If Avram Avinu didn't know that it was the night of Pesach, he wouldn't have baked the Shalosh Ugei Matzos with the flour for the Malachim and have fulfilled the mitzvah of Hachmasas Orchim for them. Im ein Torah ein Kemach. He wouldn't have realized that to bring simply these flour-baked cookies for them, these matzahs. V'im ein Kemach, v'im ein Torah ein Kemach. And if there was no Torah in and of itself, then there wouldn't have been any flour. So when Avram Moshe Rabbeinu, goes up to Shemayim and he accepts and he acquires the Torah for Klal Yisrael, if not for the Kemach of Avram Avinu, if not for the flour that he baked the Ukos Matzos, ein Torah. V'im ein Kemach, ein Torah, v'im ein Torah, ein Kemach. Good night.